The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Golenbock University. I'm Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm here. We are sans Alan Blumpkin, who's on the DL, recovering. Hope he's okay, and just want to wish him the best. Peter's here. How are you, sir?
Just fine, Ralph. Just fine.
Good.
I hear you've got an 80-story building in San Francisco that is starting to lean.
Starting to lean and sink.
Sink. It's sinking and leaning. Can you imagine?
At the same time.
How would you like to own the top floor of that hotel, of that apartment building?
I think it's a condominium, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. Joe Montana owns one of the pieces.
Yeah. Well, that's what insurance is for. That's the way I look at it.
I hope so. Boy.
And then
how would you like to be the builder of that one? Egads.
Well, he's no doubt in the Bahamas with his money in an offshore.
I don't know.
Someplace. Catch me if you can.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a bunch of real estate crooks rising to power these days. So who knows what's going to be. Anything you want to talk about that I wanted to cover the fact that your Tampa Bay Rays have sold off a little bit, but we were talking off the air. Ramos, Archer, and the like, they may be re-signed after this season.
No.
Not Archer?
No. The Rays this year have a group of we've had 20 rookie players play this year. That's a remarkably fantastic group of players. We sold off a bunch of the veteran players, but the way I look at it, I don't think the Rays have hurt themselves one bit, quite frankly. See, the game of baseball has changed, and the game of baseball has changed because literally every pitcher now throws the ball between 95 and 100 miles an hour. So what has that sort of changed? Well, obviously, you have huge numbers of strikeouts, and you also have a fairly large number of home runs. Because a lot of the batters, they have to face the shift. And rather than choose to go to the other side and avoid the shift, they decided the best thing to do is hit the ball over the fence and avoid the shift that way. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I've noticed more than anything else is that because all of these pitchers are throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour, these ball players who are older than 30, I mean literally older than 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, no longer are the players that they used to be. I mean, it used to be when the pitchers would throw between, say, 85 and 90, that you could play to 37, 38, 39, and even every once in a while 40. And I'm talking about the hitters now. I'm not talking about the pitchers. I'm talking about the hitters. But in this day and age, I don't know if you've noticed the batting average, but there are so many players who are hitting under 220. It's astounding. And it's astounding.
Not only that, under the Mendoza line of 200.
You got that too.
Like
yeah.
40,
under 200. Yeah.
40-some odd players, which is almost unheard of. It was a story when you hit 190 and stayed in the game. Back then. Now there are 41-some odd players with that. And it doesn't seem to be an issue with baseball.
Well, it's not an issue. It's not an issue because the teams don't feel that they have people in the minors who can do better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's interesting about the Rays, they've got some very smart people sitting in the basement of the Trop, figuring these things out. Sabermetrics, the positioning. Their positioning is almost genius, and they made trades for players in the last week which also sort of seemed like genius. They traded for a St. Louis Cardinal outfielder by the name of Tommy Pham. And boy, I was so excited to get Pham to come over and play for the Rays. But unfortunately, because everybody's throwing 95 miles an hour, Pham was hit in the very first game, managed to survive to play into game 2 for him. And in the second game, some pitcher threw him a 97-mile-an-hour fastball that hit him in the toe, breaking his toe.
Oh.
So he's out. And that's a shame because he was a big piece of what the Rays were hoping to do. We have a player by the name of Daniel Robertson, who was another one of these rookies, one of these incredibly terrific rookies. And these kids play with real passion. And he went sliding into second base, and unfortunately, like Kiermaier, they like to slide head first. And the problem with sliding in head first is you're asking for it in terms of injuries. And I do believe he broke one of his fingers. Robertson did. So for that to heal, it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks before he'll come back. But fortunately, they've got Joey Wendell. They got this kid Adames, who is tremendous. They got a kid in the minors by the name of Christian Arroyo. They've got a first baseman by the name of Bowers. These are all rookies. They're all rookies. And it's an amazing group of rookies that they have. And though I had thought for a moment last week that they would have a shot at catching Seattle for the wild card. But we just lost 3 one-run games to the Chicago White Sox in a row. The pitching was magnificent in the first 2. The hitting was pretty damn good in the third one, but it wasn't enough to defeat a very sort of lowly White Sox team who played really very, very well against us. So unless the team, has a turnaround and ends up winning 15 games in a row, it doesn't look like the Tampa Bay Rays are going to catch anybody this year, which is a shame. But I'm telling you, the kids that they've got playing for this team, so exciting to watch. I go to the games and I just sit and marvel. Just wonderful the way they're playing.
Well, I'm sorry that they're not closer because in talent and in enthusiasm and in average age and everything, they closely mirror the Oakland A's, who they've been playing fantastic ball.
They have. They
42
have.
out of the last 52 games.
And they got kids. They got really, really good kids. Their first baseman is spectacular.
What a fielder between Chapman at third and this kid scooping balls at first. Incredible. The 2 Mats. Guy they got from St. Louis, Piscani, who
he's playing great.
Soul, they got him to be closer to his mom, who sadly passed away from ALS earlier in the year. He's a good young ball player. One of the biggest power hitters, small guy, we talked about him, Chris Davis, who's like a little spark plug.
Oh, spectacular.
30-some-odd home runs. And they're a solid team. Their shortstop is really come on this season. He's much more consistent than he was. He's got a little bit of speed.
Well, they passed Seattle, which was incredible. They passed Seattle, and they're just playing great ball. They really are just playing great ball. Edwin Jackson, he's one of yours, isn't he? Edwin Jackson?
Yes, they got him. He's Cahill, an old aide from way back who had many injury problems. Brett Anderson, these guys are coming back and pitching well, and it isn't for lack of injuries on their pitching staff. They've had 4 or 5 guys having Tommy John surgery, and that is becoming so commonplace that I don't know if you have an explanation for that.
I have an explanation for it, all right. Tommy John is become commonplace. because if the strain, these 95 to 97 mile an hour fastballs place on these high school kids' arms. I mean, it's remarkable today how many high school players right now are having Tommy John surgery so that they are able to play in college.
Right, almost as a preventative thing.
Well, no, they've got injury. I mean, if they're not injured, they're not getting Tommy John surgery. But if they've got, the twinges, and if they've got the pain, they're going to have that surgery because it's, the way the doctor did it, it actually strengthens their arm.
Right.
Yeah. The Rays right now have a remarkable group of players who throw 97 miles an hour. They're all rookies.
And I think it's a fad. I think that eventually
there'll
be scouts who will say...
It's the way of the game.
Well, I think the big thing is the differentiation between how fast you throw and what your off-speed pitch is.
That's absolutely true. It's also the difference between the pitchers who are successful and the pitchers who are not successful. I mean,
so
part of the problem.
Start out at 94, at 92 or 91, and have your off-speed stuff with enough deception to maybe take 15 miles off that, and 15 miles off your top speed is just as effective if your top speed is 91 or your top speed is 99.
That's true. If you can throw a changeup. What a lot of the pitchers do is they have a fastball and they have a slider. And if the fastball is 95, their slider might be 89 or 90. But the difference, of course, is that it looks like a fastball and it dives off to the side as it's approaching the plate, and it's a very effective pitch. The people who are spectacular are the ones who have the fastball, the slider, and the changeup.
Right.
Those
curveball that's one of those slow over-the-top curveballs that, a la Blyleven and Koufax, and you're not going to find many Koufaxes.
Look at the way Verlander pitches. The guy's spectacular. Or Kutchel. We have some very, very great pitchers.
Also wanted to make note of something else. Guys who are having, say, maybe Archer's a good example. 2 fairly mediocre years in a row with Tampa.
Tampa Bay.
And all of a sudden they go to, and I'm using him as an example, Cole Hamels as an example, went to the Cubs. These guys become rejuvenated, and I'm using the word in quotes.
Yeah, or they don't. Or they don't.
They don't.
It's remarkable, or they don't. It's remarkable how many of the Rays pitchers who have been sent elsewhere have ended up being incredibly mediocre, including James Shields, who pitched today and gave up all those runs. Our Hamill, we had a Hamill, Josh Hamill, who's now pitching, and he's in the National League with a really crappy record. The only Rays pitcher who we gave up, and we didn't give him up because for any other reason, is that they didn't want to pay him $100 million, and that was David Price. And David Price is with the Red Sox, and David Price is a fairly spectacular pitcher. Mm-hmm. We gave up this guy Eovaldi, and we got a pitcher by the name of Jason Beeks, Beeks, who pitched for the first 2 times in the major leagues last week. And the first time he pitched 3 innings, gave up 10 hits and 8 runs. The second time he pitched 5 innings, he gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. So this guy Beeks, looks like a really spectacular young kid. He's another one of the Rays' young kids in their group of great young kids. But most of the players who the Rays end up trading off end up never having careers as good as when they played with the Devil Rays.
Right. I'll tell you what, I saw a Tampa reunion. These guys come back, and they are so, Bordello and those guys, I saw this today, they were so happy to be back. That's an organization that players love playing for.
Without a doubt. Yesterday they had the 10th anniversary of the 2008 World Series team. And 20 of those players came back. Now, Longoria was still playing, so he couldn't come back. A couple of the guys were playing on
One guy was with the White Sox. I think they played the White Sox.
Well, yes. I just mentioned him, the pitcher.
Who they traded for Beeks.
No. That was Eovaldi. No, this fella was their pitcher he was their best pitcher for years. But he's got a record of like 3-14 right now with the White Sox. He pitched today and he didn't get the win. But he's not that good anymore. But he came back for the reunion because the White Sox happened to be playing the Rays, and it was lovely. I mean, these people really loved each other. Joe Madden was the manager of the team. Obviously, he could not be there because he was in Chicago managing. James Shields is the pitcher I was telling you about. He's the guy who was with Chicago, and he's got a fairly bad record right now, 3-14. Though he did pitch today, and he pitched rather well. But those guys had no right to end up in the World Series in 2008. Once again, it was a team of, sort of no names. Carl Crawford was the star. B.J. Upton was in center field. Longoria was a rookie. David Price was a rookie. Shields was one of the pitchers on that team. And they ended up in the World Series against the Philadelphia Phillies.
And it made Madden's career, really.
It absolutely made Madden's career, and the Phillies sort of took the team apart. They won 4-1, which sort of put a kibosh on all the excitement. But it's for Tampa Bay, it was the most exciting couple of weeks that the Rays fans ever had, and it was wonderful. And when they brought them all back, to relive it was wonderful all over again. It was just terrific.
Okay. I want to talk to you about not just Tampa Bay, but all of baseball. Middle infield defense.
Yep.
As well as all defense, outfield defense, but especially the double play. We are seeing some spectacular shortstop. There's this kid Lindor with Cleveland.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely amazing. Doing things that Ozzie Smith could never hope to do.
Correa and Altuve. Just tremendous.
Right.
There are double play combinations. There are third basemen. Spectacular third baseman.
Chapman with the A's.
Absolutely. Olsen at first base with
Colorado.
the A's is just tremendous. Bowers with Tampa Bay, who's a tremendous fielder. Your guy, who's now with the Tampa Bay team, Matt Duffy, who is a spectacular baseball player. I mean, he was the heart of your team. He's now the heart of our team.
Right.
And it's just wonderful to watch. Baseball has never, and I mean never, ever, ever been more athletic and more fun to watch in terms of the defense. I mean, these guys do things. They're just so acrobatic.
Going in the hole and throwing from so far in the hole, jump throws like Norm Van Brocklin or whoever.
So. That's true.
Incredible arms on these guys.
If I had the list of players on all the major league teams in front of me, I could name you 25 infielders who play like that. I mean, there's just you would pay your money just to watch these people field, and it's magnificent. It's just magnificent. And again, I'll say it again. Any of these players who are over 31, you see them get traded because they're over the hill. Ian Kinsler gets traded to the Red Sox. Now, why would you trade Ian Kinsler away? Because he's older than 30 and he's over the hill. That's why.
Right. I attribute the Latin influence as much as anything for the improvement in defense. these guys play with a joy and an enthusiasm that you just didn't see 10 years ago.
I want to know what's in the water in the Dominican Republic. Would somebody tell me that, please? What is it these people are eating that make these players coming out of the DR so utterly, utterly spectacular?
Well,
one after another, after another.
Poverty and wanting to get off.
There's poverty all over the world, but they're not playing Major League Baseball.
No, but the only way for those guys to get off the island is, the old expression, you can't walk off the island, you gotta...
Maybe, but they don't walk off of Haiti. Only a couple of them walk off of Panama. Only a couple of them walk off of Venezuela. But in the Dominican Republic, you have an army of them coming to Major League Baseball. How is that?
A lot of them from Venezuela, too. A lot of shortstops.
Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful to see these people play. They're just spectacular.
Yeah.
Just tremendous.
So, overall, that's, because there's so much negativity about, quote, the changes in the game, this, that, and the other thing. It's nice that we could point out the positive things in the game that make it all worthwhile.
If you love the game, you love the game. The game's the same game. What's happening is that the skills of the people playing the game are getting better and better and better. And that changes some aspects of the game. The other part of the game that has been changed, and the Tampa Bay Rays have played a role in this, two things, is that they have figured out, using their statistics, where the other team hits the ball, especially the left-handed batters. They have figured out that the left-handed batters do not have the ability to hit the ball to left field. So they take the shortstop and they move him over to the right side between second and first and move the second baseman in the hole to where most of the good left-handed hitters hit the ball. And so the left-handed hitters are now hitting 20 points below where they used to hit because they keep hitting the ball into the teeth of that shift. And that's one of the things that's changed. So one of the arguments at a certain point is if you want to have those left-handed hitters hit the way they used to hit, is perhaps, and I'm not sure how exactly I feel about it at the moment, the rule would be you must have two fielders to the left of second base and you must have two fielders to the right of second base. And that would do away with the shift. The other thing that's happening, and once again the Tampa Bay Rays are doing this and nobody seems to be paying much attention, is that we have sort of thrown out the rotation. And so what the Tampa Bay Rays are doing is they will take one of their young kid fireballers, and he will pitch the first 2 innings. And then they will take him out, and they will put in one of the, potential starters and have him pitch 5 innings. So now you've got 7 innings, and they will then take 2 of their relievers. Their fireballer will pitch the 8th, and Sergio Romo will pitch the 9th and get the save. And the Rays have been unbelievably successful doing this. And it's different. But it works for them. And so they don't care how the critics feel about what they're doing. Their notion is, 5 of our starters are on the DL, so we're going to mix and match these guys, and we're going to win some ball games. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Hey, they're 2 games over 500 the last I looked.
Yeah, and if they hadn't lost 3 straight to the White Sox, they'd be even better than that. I really thought there for a minute that they would be able to challenge Seattle. It looks like they may not be able to catch Oakland because Oakland is really on fire. And it looks like, too, that they've stopped hitting. And that's a problem. There was a week where they played 10 games against Houston, Washington, and the Yankees at home at the Trop, where that team won 9 and lost 1. It was one of the great weeks of Tampa Bay Rays history. It was just spectacular for the way they won those games. And they're a very, very, very exciting team. They just, with rookies, they make rookie mistakes. And when you're playing, one-run ball games, you cannot afford to make rookie mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this team the rest of the year.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting that when teams play each other and they're in contention, they play better than teams play against the teams who aren't in contention.
Very
and
true.
There might have been a subconscious drop in enthusiasm or whatever it took. They might have taken the White Sox for granted and looked beyond them.
Hard to know. I went to all three games. I can tell you the White Sox pitchers pitched beautifully. They really did. They hit the corners. They changed speeds. They just pitched beautifully. And sometimes when your team is in something of a slump, your players decide that they've got to do more, that they've got to put the weight of the game on their shoulders and try to be better. And very often when they do that, they play worse. So it'll be interesting to see.
The team is relaxed. It has nothing to,
Yeah, the Orioles are coming into town on Tuesday. We're going to play the Orioles Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Last week, the Orioles scored 11, 14, and 11 runs against us, swept us. Shocking after playing so beautifully. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this team.
Okay. Peter, make it a good week. Stay healthy, please.
Yes, you too, and give my best to Alan, would you please?
I will indeed, and you're going to be in Boston. What's your trip in Boston?
I'm going to be in Boston. I'm going to be in New York State. I'm going to be on the Cape. I'm going to be driving around, seeing my relatives and Wendy's wonderful relatives.
Nice. Stay healthy, my friend.
All right. Don't let that.
Say hi to both of your Wendy's.
I shall. And don't let the skyscraper in San Francisco fall down. Okay.
On me.
On anybody.
All right.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Be well. Thanks again. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back before you know it. Adios.